Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. We're just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Blah blah blah. Can I start over already? Uh, this is episode 117, and following our regular season format here, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium. We're going to cover the news from this past week. After that, we'll give you our week 7 power rankings and game picks. And then we'll close things off with question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Oh, it's going good, man. We're back on the Friday thing. I don't really have too many schedule conflicts from here, so maybe we'll get into kind of like a good rhythm, consistent rhythm, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, see, I don't think I have any. I might. I got a whole fucking shitload of vacation I have to take this
Oh,
year.
so yeah, maybe we will be juggling some things around, but that's okay. You got to recharge the batteries, James.
Yeah, I have like 5 weeks or something I have to take off between now and the end of the year.
It's that good government job, man, hooking
Yeah,
you up.
I've. I'm only allowed to take carry over. Nope, it's 4 weeks. It's 160 total hours. I'm only allowed to carry over 240 hours from year to year, and
Sandbagging son of a bitch.
yeah,
Not too
I
shabby.
earn I earn currently like 240 hours a year. So, and
Sounds
that's
pretty
just
darn good to
vacation
me.
time. That's not including sick time.
Yeah, or yeah, California, you got all the action out there, man. Of course, that's
Well,
starting to spread to a lot of other states now too, but
yeah,
um,
with the with the government job, we get like a day of sick time a month that we earn. I have like 1,100 hours of sick time
because you're just
accrued.
healthy.
Yeah, 'cause I don't take I don't take time off. I don't call in sick.
That's good and bad, James. Good and bad.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
No,
So
I'll take time off, but
yeah,
not that much.
I got you. I got you. All right. So, bringing it back. So we're going to get this thing going here. I'll go with our typical housekeeping that we've been doing lately, just letting people who are new to the show know that we do this every week. So if you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button. We pump up one show every week, usually on Fridays. It's the same format until we get to the playoffs. And we realize the shows are lengthy. And so you can check out the description. We bookmark everything. You can kind of jump around if maybe you just want to look at the power rankings, easy to navigate just to that. Shit, maybe you just want to fucking play Name That Stadium. I don't know. But we make it easy just so you can jump around and, we want to respect your time. So, but yeah, let's get it going here, James. And why don't you take us through Name That Stadium?
All right, so this is the I basically travel the country, go to various stadiums every week. Depend during the season is generally a team or a stadium that's hosting a game that week. First person that guesses in the comments where I'm at gets a super special shout out the following week's show and or follow week's video. Last week I was at what I consider going in the game of the year,
Okay.
which was at Kansas City with Buffalo at Kansas City. It, that game basically now there's no way that I can foresee Buffalo losing home field advantage in the AFC in the playoffs. So it would be the first time that if Kansas City makes it to the championship game, that Patrick Mahomes, because they make it every year since he's been their
Yeah.
quarterback, he'll have to actually play on the road, and which is because I mean it's basically a 2 game lead now, so that cements Buffalo's Super Bowl bid.
So what did you think of that game? Were you happy with it?
I was happy with the outcome. I thought it would be higher scoring. Honestly, if you look at the last game they played, I mean, shit, there was what what did I say? There was 31 points scored after the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter,
Mm-hmm.
in the playoff game. So I kind of figured it'd be a little higher scoring, but all in all, I thought it was a solid game.
Yeah, I thought both defenses played pretty well, and it was like offensively they were getting like little spurts of action, and that's where they got their points. But the defense was doing a pretty good job on both sides. At least kind of keeping them in check as best as they could. So,
Mhm.
in two potent offenses, man, you're not going to hold them down all game. So, but I liked it. It was a good one to watch. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well, let's move on over and we'll do our recap of the past week. And so, James, we've been kind of starting this segment off by talking about surprises from the past week. Um, I don't know that there were any surprises in that Buffalo Kansas City game. I think a lot of people, you were one way or the other, but everybody was expecting it to be a pretty good game, and it was.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I mean, for me, there were a couple obvious ones this past week. You had both the New York teams upset some teams, pretty wild. The Giants over Baltimore, the Jets over the Packers, and then the third one that really stood out for me, which I don't know, maybe narrative wise, it's not as much of a surprise now, but was the Steelers getting that win over the Buccaneers, man. What did you think, dude?
So I wasn't as surprised by the Steelers over the Buccaneers. Tom, especially after what happened on Friday that week, I was not surprised at all about it. The Jets game, I mean, I was surprised at the spread, but I had that feeling going into the week. Like, I mean, even on Thursday night, like,
Oh yeah,
you
you
know,
called it, man. Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go with Jets. I had that feeling that there's something amiss in Green Bay, and then after the game, Aaron Rodgers saying we have to simplify the offense. I was like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Uh, the game that the Giants and the Ravens, like, I had tuned in, or I had kind of kept track of it, and like I thought, like, I want to look at it, but I swear I thought like Baltimore was up by like 2 touchdowns or something
They,
when I checked.
yeah,
I
it
checked, and
it
then
seemed like they had control, and then they just had these random, like mental errors that let the Giants get back in it, and it just slipped away. It was like, wow, how did that freaking happen, man?
yeah, because and yeah, look, it was 10 points, not 2 touchdowns, but like I remember, like, I looked at it, like, a little bit into the fourth quarter, and I was like, oh, the Ravens are up by 10. The Giants are. So I never went back to the game
Yep.
thinking that the Ravens have it. But with the Bucks and the Steelers, what I kind of alluded to was you heard about how Brady skipped the walkthrough on Friday.
No, I didn't hear that. I was actually going to ask you, what did you mean about what happened
So
Friday?
so apparently Friday night, Robert Kraft got married, and
I did hear something about this. Okay.
instead of
All
going to
right.
the walkthrough on Friday, the final game prep, Brady went to Kraft's wedding in New York,
Yeah.
and
It's like,
there's
oh, we're
you
going
know
to Cancun before a playoff game. Yeah,
yeah,
it only works if you win.
yeah, but if you look at Brady this year, how do I say this? He's not Tom Brady.
No, he's
He's
distracted for sure.
distracted. He's distracted, but Tom Brady is basically he works harder than everyone else. That's his image. So he works harder than everyone else. First one in at like 2 o'clock in the morning. If you get here at 2:30, I'm gonna get here at 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like
last one out
skating
the
this
door.
year. Yeah.
Last one out the door. And this year he's skating, and then he says that like fucking bullshit comment, like he doesn't see himself walking away from football in the near future.
I saw that today. I
It's
thought,
like
what the hell?
it's like
But
dude,
yet you came into the year and everybody was saying you were going to get like every Wednesday off of practice. It's like, what is going on here, man? This is like I don't know. It's almost like a version of what you see with the diva wide receivers, like Antonio Brown losing his fucking mind. T.O. losing his mind. It's like Brady now all of a sudden, he just like a fucking spring popped loose and
Yeah.
he's just like off the fucking deal.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to describe it with Brady. And I kind of, when with my preseason picks, I kind of was seeing something like this happening. I was way wrong on the team that has the chance to take the division. I thought it was New Orleans.
Yeah.
But it's like they're God even worse. And why the fuck are they playing Andy Dalton? I mean, seriously. Like I think the message I sent to you was Andy Dalton fucking blows.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, last night Dalton cost the Saints the game. Two pick sixes. They lost by 8 points. I mean,
Yep.
right there, that's the game. Um, and it wasn't like it was like if I remember correctly, it was close to if it was like consecutive passes or it was consecutive drives. They were like minutes apart on the clock. So it's just like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I know that the one pick, so he had three, and I know the one was like off the receiver's helmet, and so they're like, ah, you can't blame him for that. But just in general, I mean, we know Dalton is past his prime. He's
Mhm.
had a couple of years now since he's played solid football. And, I go back to one of those last years in Cincinnati where he hurt his back. It's like he's just never been at that level since then. And now I guess Jameis has had some injury issues. And I've been hearing that even with Jameis getting healthy, they kind of think Jameis is a little more of a wild card than Andy Dalton. And so it's like, oh my gosh, man. I just feel like there's so much talent wasting away with the Saints this year. It's a bummer.
Yeah. So the pick sixes they were a minute four apart on the
Okay.
clock.
Yeah.
So I knew it was like a minute. But I want to see what I'm trying to see is. Uh,
Yeah, and while you're looking at that, Michael Thomas, he's been out now too for however many weeks in a row, and it's just like here we go again, man. Their stud wide receiver just like never available for them, and so I guess it's good they drafted Olave, but he's a rookie and he needs time to develop, and you got to have complementary pieces, and they got Jarvis Landry, that's okay, but he's getting long in the tooth, and it just it's like I don't know, man. It just it doesn't seem like they're a cohesive unit.
well, I think besides playing, um, oh my God, sorry. Uh, remind me after we're done. I don't want to put this
Sure,
out there.
sure.
Um, I'm sorry. That's just hilarious. So, anyways, I think the problem is Dennis Allen, honestly, with the Saints. And he had the same or similar issues when he was the coach of the Raiders. I mean,
Yeah.
the team wasn't buttoned up. I mean, yeah, Andy Dalton playing quarterback is an issue, but it's it's
Oh
not
boy. Oh boy. All right. I don't know. You're gonna have to like text me or something just to like relieve yourself of this hilarious
yeah.
thing going on here in the background.
I will. It's. Okay, I will.
All right.
I'll, I'll,
While you're doing that, James, I'll talk for a minute. So, Saints aside, let's just talk about some of the notable injuries from this past week. The Cardinals, they lost Hollywood Brown to a broken foot. He's expected to be out for 6 weeks. Connected to that, they've had a little bit of luck where they pulled a trade off for Robbie Anderson. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And they also got DeAndre Hopkins back from suspension. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. For the Chargers, this is a continuation. Keenan Allen still out. Uh, it's weird. He's got a hamstring injury. It's been lingering since week one, and it makes me wonder what's going on here. That it keeps kind of every week he gets ruled out, and they don't just like come out and say, that it's a more serious thing, and maybe even shit, just put him on IR and then just like make it clear he's gonna take the time to recover. Um, but then other than him, you got a couple quarterback things going on. Carson Wentz broke a finger on his throwing hand in that win over Chicago. The last I heard, they are going to put him on IR because he's expected to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And then Russell Wilson, he's day to day now with a hamstring injury, which is following the shoulder injury that he's been dealing with. And so just, more bad luck for them with the injury stuff. But those were the big injury ones I picked up, man.
You missed one.
Well,
And
what was it, James?
it came out. I don't. I understand you missing it because it came out. I first saw it today. It was reported. Let me see at about 4 p.m. your time today. J.K. Dobbins is out 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
He
What did he
has
have going on, like a foot thing or something?
no. It's a knee thing. He has to
Okay,
have. He hurt his knee against the Giants in the second half, and he's having it scoped, and he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks.
gotcha. Yeah, and I know Kenyon Drake ran well in last week's game, and so hopefully that helps him. And then I heard Gus Edwards has been back at practice.
Hmm.
That gives him a little bit of help there, and so they might be okay without Dobbins. But Dobbins he had a little bit of sizzle in some of the games he did play this year, so I know they're wanting him back, man.
Yeah. So I mean that's unfortunate, but it seems par for the course with Baltimore the last 2 years. It just it
Yeah,
sucks
I
for
don't know what
them.
to make about Baltimore, man. I don't know. For all the good you see a lot of really stupid shit
Hmm.
too. So
Hmm.
that you should not be seeing from a team with such a seasoned head coach. And I think some of it is that he's just like placating to Lamar. Oh, we'll go for it on every fourth down because you want to. And it's like, dude, you're the head coach. You need to be leading that ship. And yeah, it's great you got a ton of talent, you can roll the dice, but you also know that your smart way of leading this team has had them be successful for many years, like why don't you stick with what you do and make it work, man? I don't know. I don't like
Well,
seeing him change course like this.
Harbaugh's really aggressive. I mean, he's gone way overboard,
Yeah.
but Harbaugh's generally been an aggressive head coach. It's just this year he's gone to the extreme.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to more of the news side of it. I mentioned Robbie Anderson got traded to the Cardinals, helps backfill for Hollywood Brown being out. James, I haven't seen what they got for him. The article I said was it was undisclosed draft compensation.
Yeah, that the last I saw was undisclosed draft compensation.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
Um, and I'm looking, and because I was looking earlier to see, like I was checking the something on for later, and so I was looking at this upcoming draft, and I did not see anything about or any trade regarding with Arizona and Carolina on
Okay.
that. But like, it's not that much of a surprise that Robbie Anderson was traded. I mean, basically, Rule told him to get the fuck off the, or not
Or was
Rule,
it Wilkes? Yeah.
Wilkes. Sorry, I realized as I was saying it. Wilkes told him to get the fuck off the field, because he was yelling, or getting whatever the fuck he was doing. Like he was basically getting into it with like all the coaches on the
Yeah.
sideline. I'm pulling up just this article and all right. Nope, that's what he was acquired for.
Yeah, they're being super secretive about it for some reason. I don't get it. Usually by now it would come out as to what it was.
Yeah, like I mean, shit. Um, Carolina only only got or only gave up a 2024 sixth round pick and a 2025 seventh round pick for him. So it couldn't have been much.
No,
Um, but it's just,
undisclosed.
yeah, that's really weird.
Well, and then the other Cardinals wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. He's back after his 6-game suspension. So far, he's off to a good start. He played last night. I don't think he got in the end zone, but he went over 100 yards, and so
Yeah,
coming at a
he
good
didn't get a
time.
touchdown. I think he got the two-point conversion, or was that no, never. But anyways, yeah, you're right. It was
Yeah,
he was over. It was like 101 yards or something.
yeah. So they're glad to have him back. He's obviously a legit wide receiver one, and we'll see how the whole PED thing goes for him. And we've speculated maybe he's going to lose a step without whatever he was taking before, but um, he's had an impressive career, so he'll hopefully bring some sparks back to that offense.
Okay, I found the compensation. It was so he was Carolina traded him to the Cardinals for, this is according to Adam Schefter, 2024 sixth round pick and a 2025 seventh round pick. So basically nothing.
Yeah, yeah, 2 picks that probably won't even make the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially with the way they draft. All right, so then I would say it's got to be the biggest news of the week, James, was the Christian McCaffrey trade. And so also connected with Carolina, he is now being shipped off to San Francisco. And that one's a little bit weird. I heard that they were trying to get a first round pick, and then the two like top suitors ended up being the 49ers and the Rams, neither of which had a first round pick. And
Actually,
ultimately,
four top suitors were the 49ers, the Rams, the Bills, and the Broncos.
yeah, it would have been nice to see the Bills make that move, but
Yeah.
that's okay. But yeah, so now Carolina's going to get the 49ers second, third, and fourth round picks for the 2023 draft, plus their fifth round pick in the 2024 draft. Um, the 49ers, hey, they're, taking a page out of the Rams book. Let's just trade away all of our picks for players. uh, yeah, and then I've heard with him, he could be utilized as early as this weekend. They're talking potentially uh, getting him ready just for red zone packages because it's obviously not a lot of time to learn the playbook, but they want to start getting some return on that investment right away, James.
Yeah. So he, the latest I heard is he is playing this weekend.
Okay.
That was a definitive. So the only team that was in the mix that had a first round pick was Buffalo, and Brandon Beane's like, no, I'm not going to give you a first round pick for in the
Yeah.
deal. So and then Carolina were started playing San Francisco and LA off each other because they're in the same division. We'll get a little bit more into my thoughts on it later, from what I understand,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we'll bring it back for question of the week because yeah, I think there's a lot more to talk about here. And so yeah, James, in other news, I saw Elijah Moore, the wide receiver for the Jets. He's requesting a trade. Basically, he's pissed off. He had 0 targets last week. He's young. He's got some upside, so there could be interest. But Robert Saleh is saying the team is not interested in trading him, and so I don't think it doesn't sound like a good situation. I would bet that they'll listen to offers if they come in, but we'll see what happens, man. You got a young, up and coming guy, unhappy with what's going on in that offense. It's just not a good fit. So,
yeah.
and then in other wide receiver news, Deshaun Jackson back in the mix. He made some waves this past week. Basically, started off with a statement that he wasn't retired. He was just hanging out as a free agent. And shortly thereafter, Baltimore came a knocking, and so he has signed with them. Not sure how much he's got left in the tank, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I saw that. It doesn't matter. Baltimore's only person that's ever going to get the ball is Mark Andrews, anyways. Or so that's about all Deshaun Jackson can not Deshaun Jackson, Lamar Jackson can throw
Over the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. And so then, James, I saw Cam Akers has a rift going with the Rams. He's basically, I think, mostly behind closed doors, bitching about his usage in the offense. But the reality is that he's been largely ineffective even when he's been given carries this year. Some of that could be the poor offensive line play. Some of that could be him. It's hard to really tell. But either way, it sounds like the team is actively shopping him out, and it's probably just a matter of time before he's on the move.
Yeah, it's not a surprise, and it's going to be a mutual thing. There's something there because basically the Rams told him to get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Not in those words, go home, stay home, don't come back. And the Rams, the only way the Rams can do that is if they suspend him, and they didn't suspend him, or to prevent him from entering the facility is if they suspend him. He said, "Sure, I'll just go home."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's something to it. What it is, it's very secret, but you're probably right.
Mutual desire to part ways.
But I respect that. I respect him for not airing, both the Rams and him not airing what's going on. In the public. So.
I mean, hey, I say Detroit go after the guy because DeAndre Swift is just going to be ruled out every week from here on out anyhow, right? So
Swift is playing this week, by the way.
Oh yeah, they say that, don't they? They like to say that a lot, James.
They do say that.
And how much will he play? Because it just bums me out, man. He's hurt a lot. So that's all I'm saying. But not like Cam Akers has been like some
Yeah, Cam Akers misses just about as much time as DeAndre Swift. So what the fuck are you talking about?
So maybe one will be healthy at any given time and will be in good shape. I don't know. But I like Jamal Williams. I just think, we need somebody a step above, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so in other news, Dak Prescott, he's been medically cleared. Looks like he's going to get the start this weekend against Detroit. Talk about a nice way to come back from injury, getting to play basically the most powder puff defense in the league right now. And so, should be a nice transition back to game action for him. And then other quarterback news, Tua is going to be back as well. He has finally cleared the concussion protocol, and he'll get the start this weekend against the Steelers. So I'm excited to see that. Been pretty wild, man. A lot of people talking about he should just retire. The brain issues, the concussion stuff, pretty serious. But, he's going to give it a rip. So hopefully he stays healthy.
Good for him. I'm not 100% buying into the he should retire talk. I think it's something he should sit down and take a look at.
Yeah.
Considering he probably had 2 brain injuries 4 days apart. And so, I mean, it might be smart for his well-being in the future to not look. I mean, many quarterbacks' careers have been cut short because of concussion. The one that sticks out of my mind is Steve Young.
Okay.
Steve Young had to retire because doctors told him you can't get any more concussions, dude. He kept getting concussions, and they finally said you can't. He retired way early.
Yeah. Well, and that last one that Tua had where he was knocked unconscious, it reminded me of, man, who was it back in the day on Baltimore? Was it when they had McGahee? He had that same thing happen. He got hit, and he did that thing with his hands, and he was just out cold, and I think he kept playing after that. But it's you wonder over the course of their careers how many of these they've had that just weren't that extreme, but it's like every time, like eventually you could have it just could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, man.
Yeah, exactly, and it's concerning. The more concerning part is Tua basically said like there's like I don't remember exactly his exact words, but basically from like taking the snap on that play to like being back in Miami, he has no memory of.
Oh, lost time. That's scary.
Yeah. So I mean, that's even scarier.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was looking pretty fucking lights out until the lights out, no pun intended. Uh, but yeah, hey man, I don't like seeing any of these guys get hurt like that. So,
Yeah.
um, and then James, the last thing I had news wise was Delaney Walker, former tight end, has announced his retirement. 14-year career in the NFL. He had a good run, but Father Time caught up to him, and nobody was willing to call. So,
Wait, he hadn't retired already?
exactly. It's been a while since we've seen him get some game action, but he was holding out, hoping somebody would give him a call. So I can't knock him for that. He had a good run. I mean, where was he? The 49ers for a while, Tennessee for a while. He did pretty good, man. He did pretty good.
Yeah. I just thought he was retired already, so
Same here. Yeah, it went quiet with him for a while.
yeah.
Uh, but that's all I got news wise, man. What I miss?
So the only thing is on the same token is Todd Gurley. He's not retired, but he doesn't think there's any question that he's done playing football.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean he fell off a cliff fast.
Yeah. Did he get like a knee injury or something
Yep.
and
Yeah, I
then
think
he
he had
had
like
like
arthritis in a knee, and they knew that like at some point his career would get cut short,
hmm
and then he just kind of kept trying to play through it, but it was like very obviously affecting him. And I mean, he went from like best running back in the league to like not effective at all within 1 year. I mean, it was that fast.
yeah,
So,
exactly. So
yeah, but I liked
no
Gurley.
surprise there.
Man, he was just like one of those electric players when he was in his prime.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was it.
All right. Well, good stuff. Well, let's move it on over, James, and let's do our week 7 power rankings. And so whenever you're ready, man, why don't you give me 1 through 5?
All right. So also gonna put this caveat that my power rankings don't take into account last night's game,
Hmm.
but they do take into account the McCaffrey trade.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was going to wait and adjust mine next week for that trade, but it's good that you are disclosing that ahead of time.
Yeah, because when we get there, people are gonna say, "What the fuck are you smoking?" There's a lot of shakeup. There's a lot of shakeup in my power rankings.
And we are back. Voila. So, James, when you're ready, man, how about you give me your 1 through 5?
All right. So not much shakeup in my 1 through 5. I had Philadelphia at 1. Philadelphia's still at 1. Philadelphia is playing like the best team in the NFL right now. Buffalo was at 2. They beat Kansas City. They're gonna stay at 2. Kansas City was at 3. They lost a close game to my number 2 team. They're not gonna move. A little bit change at 4 and 5. Cincinnati moved up one spot. And I'm drawing a blank on who they played last week,
New
but
Orleans.
New Orleans, yes, thank you. But the team I had at the 4 spot, I kind of killed this week.
Okay.
So who did I have at 4 last week? No, the team I had at 4 lost, which was Baltimore. So Baltimore moved down out of that spot. So Dallas and Cincinnati moved up. Even though Dallas lost, they lost to Philly and they had a close game against Philly, which I think if Dak was playing, there's a high chance that Dallas could have won that game.
Gotcha. Um, okay, so yeah, looking over at my side here, James, I've got my top three stayed consistent just like you. Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City. At four, I've got Cincinnati, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with those guys every week. They started off the year really rough, but they've had a couple really steady weeks now, and so I'm digging that. I'm a little bit worried about their linebacker injury, but they're looking pretty good. And then at five, I've got the Chargers, which I will admit, I think it's a little bit high. But when I look at my board, man, it's like after Cincinnati, I feel like really shaky about a lot of teams. And so I like the Chargers' potential. And if they can get healthy, I think they've got a higher ceiling than a lot of these other teams. But it's a big if. They lost their left tackle for the year. Bosa was out this past weekend with, I think, a groin injury. Keenan Allen is like out every week with this mysterious hamstring injury. And so, and obviously, not to mention, Herbert has that cartilage stuff with his ribs from that hit early on in the year. And so it's interesting, man. I feel like this is like the most dicey I've seen at the top of the board in a long time. It feels like there's a lot of interchanging this year that I've not normally seen. But that's my 1 through 5, man. Why don't you take it back with 6 through 10?
All right. So this is where some of my biggest moves happen is in 6 through 10. At number 6, I have the New York Giants, who I moved up 17 spots this week. I'm buying in. I'm 100% buying in on the Giants and that culture that Dable's put in there. I kept, I was resistant. I was resisting moving them up, but
Are you thinking they're the new Cincinnati Bengals?
I don't know. I think they're a Super Bowl contender. Yes.
Holy shit, man. I mean, I love Dable, but uh, I look at the roster every week in my model, and I'm like, wow, they're just like so way outperforming. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder when the wheels are gonna fall off, man.
Yeah, I wonder that too. Um, I think right now they're playing like a Super Bowl contender, and they have a lot of fight. And uh this is a way different Giants team than we've seen in the last like 6 years. So last 10 years actually. So I'm really high on them right now. We'll see how it shakes out, but I put them at 6 this week. They're definitely a top 10. Number 7, I have Baltimore. Baltimore lost to the Giants. So I initially had Baltimore at 6 and the Giants at 7, and I looked at it and I realized, wait a minute. Baltimore just lost to the Giants. I can't have Baltimore above the Giants. So Baltimore dropped 3 spots. At number 8, I know you're going to think I'm crazy for this. I moved San Francisco up 10 spots, even though they lost last week because of the McCaffrey trade.
Yeah, you're getting it in while it's hot off the presses, man. I like it.
San Francisco is a top 10 team. San Francisco is a Super Bowl contender. San Francisco is going to win the NFC West. We'll get more into that later. Number 9, I have Tennessee. Tennessee didn't play this past week. I'm not gonna move them. On rare occasions, I will move a team that's off a bye, but that's because of a lot of stuff happening around them. This week, nothing really drastic happened around them, so left Tennessee at 9. 10, I have the Chargers. They moved up 1 spot. It's more of a function of a few teams dropping out of the top 10. A couple crazy moves. We'll get to that later. But I'm not sold on the Chargers in the top 10 as a top 10 team. I'm really disappointed in the Chargers this year. I give mad props to what's his name? Hopkins. Because he's out this week.
Okay.
His 4 field goals he kicked, including the game winner.
Yeah.
Like, he kicked that field goal and basically couldn't walk after it.
Yeah, you're right. That was pretty wild. Yeah.
Which I mean, that's just toughness epitomized, which is not normal from a kicker. I'll give him mad props, but I don't think the Chargers are a top 10 team. But it's just kind of how they fell this week.
No, I hear you, man. Yeah, like I said, I feel like shaky on so many teams this year at the top. It's weird. And so, looking at my 6 through 10, I've got the Vikings at 6, and I moved them up 4 spots. And I mean, we just talked about it like last week how they barely beat Chicago, but they're 5-1 and they're healthy. And so it's like when I compare them to a lot of these other teams, I'm like, ah, man, you can make the argument, you know? And so I felt like, okay, record's there, the health is there, which is a big thing. And so I gave them the bump. At 7, I've got Baltimore. I dropped them down 3. We talk about it, you know, it's like scratching our heads, man. They have everything they need to be a top team, but they're just like doing stupid shit, and it's knocking them out of games. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and then it, you know, they're also being very one-sided most games with Lamar, and that's biting them in the ass too. It's like as soon as Lamar cools down or they figure out how to stop him, you know, the train stops rolling. But they have had some good running games with Dobbins, and then last week with Drake. So I think it is getting better. But then at 8, I got Tampa Bay. I dropped them down 2 spots, and I was tempted to smoke them, man. I was tempted to smoke them, but their defense is still one of the strongest defenses in the NFC. Uh, in the offense, I think maybe can come around. They've got 2 of their top 3 receivers healthy again. But I think it's that offensive line is holding them back. It's making it harder for them to keep the ground game going, and Brady doesn't have the time. And, you know, with all his distractions off the field, whatever, it's just not coming together. But the potential's there. At 9, I've got Dallas, and so they, you know, I mean, same as you. They lost to our top team. I didn't want to bump them. I like the way they're playing. I think their defense has been lights out. I think with Dak coming back, I could see myself starting to bump him up next week. But you know, let's see how healthy he is and how the team fares. And then at 10, I've got San Francisco. I dropped them down 3 spots. You know, Bosa ended up being out of that game, which I wasn't expecting, and that didn't help. But they still lost like solidly to Atlanta, and so I could have went further down. I'm just trying to be patient. The McCaffrey thing, you know, you're hitting it this week. I decided to save it for next week because I was already kind of working on my power rankings when that came out, and I didn't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So I let it ride for this week, man. Back to you at 11, homie.
All right, 11. I have the Rams. They moved up 1 spot, only 1 spot. There's a lot of problems with the Rams. There's just a lot of problems. I'm not comfortable with them here, but I can't like. This is kind of the range where can they beat the teams I have behind them?
Yeah.
Probably. So can they beat the teams I have ahead? Probably not. So this is kind of where they fell. 12. I have Minnesota. I don't believe Minnesota is the team we've been seeing. I mean, didn't they lose to like fucking New Orleans?
They
Or
could be
something?
faking it, man. They could be faking it. I think
Or
they
they
won New
almost lost?
Orleans.
They beat New Orleans.
Yeah.
But they barely beat New Orleans off of a double doink.
Yeah, and they barely beat Chicago too.
Yeah,
And they barely beat Detroit. So yeah,
yeah,
they got some faker to them for sure. But at 5-1, you know, I had to give them a little bit of love anyhow.
yeah. At number 13, I have Miami. I dropped them down 6 spots. It's probably a little bit of an overreaction considering who's been playing quarterback for them and stuff. But I haven't liked them. And yeah, they're getting Tua back, but I think Tua's going to have a lot of, no pun intended, a lot of cobwebs to shake off.
Okay.
Um, so I think they're going
Yeah.
to struggle for a little bit. They might end up back in my top 10 at some point, but not yet.
Yeah,
At
you want to see
14,
it first.
yeah. At 14, I have New England. They moved up 5 spots. This is kind of like, I don't know what to make of New England. That offense in New England, hear me out. Just hear me out. The offense in New England looks better under Bailey Zappi than it does under Mac Jones. And I don't know what the fuck to make of that.
It has for sure. I know that first week with Zappy, um, that was really like the defense pretty much won that game for him, and he
Mm-hmm.
just didn't make any mistakes. But like this past week, yeah, he played really well.
Rounding out the top 15, I have New Orleans. I didn't move them.
Oh, I gave up on New Orleans a long time ago, James. No, no, just kidding. But yeah, I got them a
They're
lot further
they're
down my board.
they're 2-5. I can't figure out what to do because I think this team should have such a better record, and it's just like I think the reason why I didn't kill them is because they've had injuries, they've had players missing, but after this past week, I have to cut the cord.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean I'm way lower on them, but we'll get to them in a little while. All right, so for me at 11, I got the Rams. I like that we synced up there on the Rams, but I just think they got to trade for an offensive lineman, and this team could be drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I also did see they just lost Joe Noteboom, and so that's going to hurt them. Maybe they got to trade for 2 linemen. I don't know, but that's really what's holding this team back. The offense just cannot function because it's probably a bottom 5 offensive line, man. They're that bad this year.
If that high.
Yeah, it's been really bad. And so then at 12, I got the Giants, James, and so not quite as aggressive as you, but I kind of thought, hey, fuck it, they're 5-1. I'm going to start embracing it. But I'm not embracing it quite as much as you yet, but probably still a lot more than some people. And like I said, when I look at the model, I'm like, how the fuck are they getting these wins? I don't know, but I'm happy as hell for them. I like the new coach. It's cool. So then at 13, I got the Packers. I dropped them down 2 spots, and I was really close to smoking them. And the only reason I didn't is just because of how mixed my opinions are on a lot of the teams in this range. And I thought, okay, I will give them the benefit of the doubt because they still have Rodgers. They have 2 really strong running backs. The coach has had, a shitload of wins since he's been there. And it just basically a stronger, more stable resume than a lot of the other teams kind of in this range. And so I don't know. I tried to justify it some way. Then at 14, I got Tennessee. They didn't have a game and they didn't move, which is, hey, that's okay. It's good when that works that way. I have some teams later on that were on a bye, and I ended up knocking them down. But we'll talk about that when we get there. At 15, I've got the Dolphins. I like that they kept it close against Minnesota, remembering that they're still dealing with some backup quarterbacks. I know Skylar Thompson went out. Teddy Bridgewater had to come in and finish that game out. We'll play most of that game, really. Uh, I can see myself boosting them as early as next week with Tua being back. But I like what you're saying. It's like, let's not go jumping the gun. We got to see, is he going to be effective when he comes back? Because you never know with these kind of injuries, man. So back to you at 16, homie.
At 16, I have Cleveland. Yeah, they lost this past week. Yeah, they lost to New England. I just think they're a top half team without Watson. I'm just holding on to dear life, leaving them there. With Watson, I think they're a top 10 team. But anyways, Arizona at 17, I dropped them down 3 spots. They They would probably go up after this week, after last night's game. They they got beat pretty handily by Seattle, so I had to move them a little bit. At number 18, I have the New York Jets. I moved them up 10 spots. I mean, I'm starting to embrace the Jets. The Elijah Moore stuff concerns me because I don't know what else is going on behind the scenes, but I think I'm just starting to believe in the Jets. There's hope with the Jets for the first time since since Rex Ryan's first year there, which was what, like 10 years ago.
Taking it back, yeah.
19, I smoked the fuck out of this team. I dropped them 11 spots. This Green Bay, they are in fucking disarray. That defense is pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense. I mean,
and the defense was supposed to save them this year.
Yeah, you and I could be the entire offensive team, and they might struggle stopping us. The offense is in disarray. Rodgers and LaFleur are fighting about simplifying the offense. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He needs to make plays and blah 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 blah. You know what? Just like fuck you, shut up, you suck.
Yeah.
20, I have the Raiders. They didn't play. I didn't move them.
Okay, I'm good with that. So all right, James, at 16, I got the Colts. I bumped them up 3 spots. You know, it was a little bit fluky the way they got that win over Jacksonville, but they do have the talent to get it done, and they've now gotten a couple wins. I think they really need to get Shaq Leonard back. That's really what's kind of holding them back. But and it would help if they had a wide receiver too. I think Pittman. I think he's like teetering at that wide receiver 1 level, and he's not like quite that dominant that he can get it done without a 2. And so that's okay. But they get Jonathan Taylor back this week, I believe, too, and so hopefully they'll keep moving in the right direction. At 17, I've got the Jets. I'm with you, man. I bumped them up 9 spots. I felt very similar to the Giants thing. It was like, okay, you know, they're 4-2, so fuck it, let's bump them up. I'm not going to fight it anymore. And it's good. I like Robert Saleh, you know, the Dearborn kid, you know, hometown guy. So at 18, I got the Falcons. I moved them up 5 spots, and man, they started the year so bad, but it's like they've been very creative on offense, and the defense has been showing a lot of improvement. And to me, it's just like when I look at the teams from here on out, they're either in ways equivalent or I think they're better. And so I liked giving them the bump here. At 19, I've got Jacksonville. I dropped them 2 spots. I almost smoked them because of the record, only 2 wins. But once again, it was kind of a fluky way to lose. And I'm just going to give them another week to see if they can kind of like bounce back and redeem themselves. If they don't, then I'll probably crush them a little bit, but that's okay. And then at 20, I got Seattle. And so I moved them up 4. They're playing really smart, safe football. You know, Kenneth Walker, so far so good without Rashad Penny there. Geno Smith, you know, he's just like that slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. And Pete Carroll's like milking everything out of that defense that he can possibly get. So, so I'm okay with them being at 20, but they're another one of these teams where I feel like they're just like way outperforming the talent that they have on that team. But good for them, man.
All right. At 21, I have Houston. They didn't move. What to say about Houston? I think I like Houston more. No, they didn't move because they didn't play. That's why they didn't move. Okay. I couldn't remember. I didn't put a note in there, obviously. At 22, I have Atlanta. Yeah, they beat San Francisco. I think that was more on the injuries with San Francisco. They moved up 4 spots, but I didn't want to give them too much credit for the victory because, like I said, I still have concerns about them. Mariota's playing better. already the one-man party, slamming beers with the team. You know, they're gelling. 23, I have Indianapolis. Now, this is a weird one. Indianapolis dropped one spot
Coming off a
after
win.
coming off a win.
Yeah.
But a bunch of teams I had behind them I thought had more impressive wins that
Okay.
leapfrogged them. So they ended up dropping one spot. 24, I have Jacksonville. Um, moved them down 7 spots. You know, I think I got a little bit overzealous with them, and it's just kind of correcting here. 25, I have Pittsburgh. Moved them up 4 spots. They beat Tampa Bay. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh being a top 25 team, but they did beat Tampa Bay.
I got you. All right, so for me at 21, I've got the Patriots. I moved them up 4 spots. I think, we're starting to see the coaching kick in. And when I look at a lot of these teams that are starting to float up the board versus the ones that are floating down, I think that's one of the common themes, is that the good coaches are getting it done even if they have lesser talent. And then the bad coaches, like you talked about with Dennis Allen, even though they're like chock full of talent, just not getting it done. And so I think we're seeing that with the Patriots. They're getting a little better every week. Their defense has already improved like dramatically, and that's been helping them big time. At 22, I've got the Cardinals. I moved them down 6 spots, and it's I didn't like the loss to Seattle. It really bothered me. I thought that was one they should have really won. Uh, but it just goes to show how streaky they are. If they are on, they are on. And if they are off, holy shit, they are off. And it just, they're way too dependent on Kyler Murray, man. They are not a balanced team by any means. At 23, I got the Browns. I smoked them a bit here. I dropped them down 8 spots. This was me basically expressing frustration with Stefanski and Brissett. I think the coaching choices have put them in a bad position, and the quarterback play could be a lot better. And I don't know what it is, because Brissett's actually a decent quarterback. It's just like he's making bad mistakes at just like bad times. And Stefanski, I think, could be doing more to lean on the run than they've been doing. And I don't know. I think maybe he thinks it's too predictable and defenses are going to shut it down. I disagree. You got 2 of the best running backs in the league, a great offensive line. They can run it down people's throats. We've seen Tennessee do it for years with Derrick Henry. I would be going with that. I don't know what the hell they're doing, man. But they've only got 2 wins, so I had to crush them a bit. 24, I've got the Raiders. I know it's harsh, but I dropped them 4 spots on a bye. As I was looking at my board, I just thought, you know what? Fuck, man, they only got 1 win. And so I just, a little bit Debbie Downer. They got a ton of talent, but at this point of the year, we're going into week 7. They only have 1 freaking win, man. So I decided, hey, I don't care if it's a bye. It's an adjustment that needs to be made. So I dropped them down. And then at 25, I've got the Saints. These guys, it's like we're talking about them. We're kind of bashing them a little bit. I do believe that some of the injuries are taking a toll, and that's a factor. But they were losing even when guys were healthy. And so I'm not going to like put it all on that. And so, yeah, I'm frustrated with the Saints, man. I was with you early on in the year. I thought they were like dark horse, Super Bowl potential kind of guys. They were just that stacked, and they just can't figure it out, man. It sucks.
All right. 26 is another team I smoked, and it's Tampa Bay. I dropped them 16 spots.
It's brutal.
And it's brutal, but this is about where they deserve to be, the way they're playing. 27, I have the Commodores of the Washington football team, or whatever the fuck their name is. I dropped them down 2 spots. Yeah, they beat Chicago. They suck. I think actually Heineke is an upgrade over Wentz, so it has which is terrible to say.
He could be, man. You never know. Sometimes a change at quarterback, even if you're taking, like, even if you're taking a step down, sometimes just the fact that you're changing quarterbacks can give the team a spark.
No, 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 no. Heineke is a better quarterback than Wentz.
No, I know what you're I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But I'm just saying that even if he was a step down, which I think you think he's a step up, but even if he was a step down, sometimes that change at quarterback sparks that team.
Yeah, true. 28, I have Denver. They dropped 4 spots. I'm gonna pose a little question of the night or question of the
Sure.
week or whatever we call it. Question to you. Did Seattle get it right by realizing Russell Wilson was done?
James, so we're going to go
Or
on a little tangent here.
Russell Wilson was cooked.
We're gonna go on a little tangent here is what you're telling me. And
Yeah.
I'm good with that. So I'll tell you my opinion, James, is that I think it was good for Seattle to get rid of him because it wasn't working philosophically with him and Pete
Mm-hmm.
Carroll. And they wanted to go with Pete Carroll, and I'm fine with that. I respect that. Do whatever you want to do. You can go either way with these things, realistically, in today's day and age. I think Russell Wilson, in terms of whether or not he's cooked, I'm going to say he is not. I think the coaching in Denver is that bad that it's dragging him down. I think he is not peak Russell Wilson anymore, but I think he is significantly better than the way he's playing in this offense. And you can see it because when you watch these games, as soon as he gets out of the pocket, he looks like regular Russ, man. He makes
Mm-hmm.
those fucking plays. It's this
Mm-hmm.
bullshit of them trying to keep him in the pocket. And I don't know, they want him to be Aaron Rodgers or some shit. It's like, look, this is Russell Wilson,
Well,
man.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't even play in the fucking pocket.
No, that's true. He's actually fairly mobile. but but hey, it's I say that because it's Hackett coming from that offense with Aaron Rodgers. I would just like to see him just go back and see what Russ was doing in Seattle and try to mimic some of that because they have the receivers. The offensive line is decent. I know they're down a running back, but they still got Melvin Gordon. He's pretty good, and their
That's
defense
unless
great.
they bench him for no reason.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different thing. But no, I think my opinion is that I'm not ready to pull the plug on Russ. I think that coach is kind of like fucking everything up, to be honest. So, what do
I
you
had
think,
I
man?
had I had to ask the question because I know a lot of people out there are thinking it. I don't think there's a single problem with Russ. I think Denver just needs to cut bait and fire that coach.
Yeah, shit, I
Hackett.
told you a couple weeks ago. Call Sean Payton, man.
Every time every time Hackett goes out there and coaches in these stupid decisions, and Staley in these stupid decisions,
Yeah.
it's like Sean Payton's laughing because he's like, shit, that's more money for me. That's more money for me. That's more money for me. Fuck.
So
Okay.
just let me say one thing about Sean Payton is that you look at what he did with Drew Brees, who is a shorter quarterback. And he liked when Breeze had the arm strength still to push the ball down the field. Russell Wilson, shorter quarterback, likes to push the ball down the field. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the match made in heaven. And like I said, I don't think Russ is peak Russ anymore, but he's still a lot better than what he is right now. You just need the right coach to help him maximize it, man.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you that. All right. 29, I have Seattle. I only moved them up 1 spot after beating Arizona. Uh, I'm still. I don't know. I don't know about Seattle. Like, I want to move them up, but their talent tells me that they're not that good, but they keep winning these games, like the Arizona game or like the
Yeah.
Denver game. So I really don't know what to do with them.
You just keep them in a holding pattern.
At 30, I have Carolina. I dropped them 3 spots. Look, if it weren't for my two dumpster fire teams, I probably would have dropped Carolina further.
Yeah.
But Carolina's tanking. We're not tanking. Bullshit. You're tanking. You you just traded the only player you have on your roster that knows the game of football. You're tanking.
Yeah, and so I still got them in my dumpster fire, but I'll talk to you about that in a minute. At
Yeah, well, I
26,
didn't have them in my dumpster fire, so
I know, they'll
the
be
teams
going there. They'll
the
be
teams
going
that
there.
are in the dumpster fire have to win
Oh
before
yeah.
Carolina can drop down there.
Oh yeah, no, and I'll give you my take on them when we do the dumpster fire. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. At 26, I've got Denver. I moved them down 4. The defense is keeping them in the games. Offense is non-existent. We just covered the whole thing with Russ. But bottom line is I had to move them lower. 27, I got Washington. I was tempted to drop them, even though they got the win on Chicago. And that has honestly nothing to do with Wentz getting hurt. It's just that they played that bad that even though they won, I just was like sickened by it. Um, but I gave them a 1 spot bump just to be a nice guy. At 28, I've got Pittsburgh. I moved them up 2. I thought it was a nice win over Tampa Bay. I'm just not sure how much I can trust it. It felt a lot to me like Tampa Bay gave it away. Um, and I look at the talent, and it's like Tampa Bay has the talent to get it done if they figure it out. Pittsburgh doesn't have the talent. They
So
just they just got a good win, man.
we got to fix this a little bit. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable because it's been 2 or 3 weeks in a row that I've had Pittsburgh higher than you, and it feels really uncomfortable because for the 2 years before that, I had Pittsburgh way lower than you.
Well, there
So
ain't
we just
no
have to
Big
fix
Ben.
this.
I lost my man crush, and T.J. Watt's still out, homie. So no, T.J. Watt comes back. Maybe I'll give him some love, James. Maybe I'll give him some love.
I'm just
Uh,
feeling a little uncomfortable
yeah,
here.
yeah. It is the
It's
tables
a
have
new
turned.
situation. New situation.
Yeah. Well, hey, it goes to show you I am open to change. At
Yeah, I
29,
am too.
I've got the Lions, and I moved them down 2 spots. I know, hey, on a bye, but you know, with only one win, uh, it's similar to like the Raiders thing. I just looked at it and I'm like, fuck, man, they only got one win. It sucks. I know they played some of those early games really hard, but it looks like the wheels are kind of falling off now, and that makes me nervous. So I dropped them down 2. And then at 30, I got Houston. And so I dropped them down 1 spot. Similar thing on a bye. It's like the record was like staring me in the eye. One win. I know they got the tie, whatever. I like Houston, but man, I need to see them win some games, man. Back to you at 31, 32, the dumpster fire.
All right, because of the fact that my number 32 team lost, my my dumpster fire didn't change with Detroit at 31 and Chicago at 32. If Chicago would have beat Washington, Detroit would have been at 32.
Yeah, and maybe a slip Carolina down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, all right. So for me, I've got Carolina at 31, and I've got Chicago at 32. I didn't move either of them since they both suck. But I can tell you right now, I'm pretty confident that next week I'll have Carolina go down to 32 because that's really the week where I'll be reflecting the McCaffrey trade. And so I didn't include it
Mhm.
here. Um, it'll happen next week. And with Chicago at 2 wins, I would feel good even if both these teams lost this week that the McCaffrey trade can allow me to flip them but keep them both in the dumpster fire. All right, good stuff. So those are the power rankings, James. If you're good to move on here, why don't we kick it over and we'll do our week 7 game picks.
I'm good to move on when you are.
Okay, and so yeah, before I'll let you kind of take it here, but let's just get everybody caught up with where we're at season to date. James, you're sitting at 47 wins, good for 50%. I'm sitting at 51 wins, good for 54%. We've got a bad trend going. We're still lagging our 60+% mark. In this past week was especially brutal for us. We each only nailed 5 wins, which was 35.7%, which was our worst week of the year. It's like by now you'd think we'd be figuring this shit out, but it's just been that unpredictable of a season, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that being said, man, take it away. Give me your picks, homie.
All right. So last night I had New Orleans. I don't know what I was smoking. I must have fucked something up in my model, having Dalton win on a primetime game over Arizona. You were on Arizona, so that's a little boost for you. We have first up. We have Cleveland at Baltimore. So my model was pretty much, it's a closer game in my model than I thought it would be. Um, I just, I'm hesitant to really, really trust Baltimore. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with Baltimore in this game because I'm I'm even more hesitant to trust Cleveland. And all, that's a fucked up stat.
What you looking at?
The Ravens have lost 3 games this year. All 3 games they lost, they were up by double digits.
Yeah, that's not a good way to
That's
go.
fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna hesitantly trust Baltimore in this game and go with Baltimore.
Yeah, so I'm going with Baltimore. My model has Baltimore winning by 7.5. And when I look at my heat map, Cleveland really has an advantage with their offensive line and their running game, but we've known that, and they've just not like properly utilized it this year, and that's been kind of their demise. But realistically, they're significantly better than that defensive front seven for Baltimore. Um, and that could be a little bit of a game changer, but I'm sticking with the model. I'm taking Baltimore. I feel pretty comfortable with it. Who's next, man?
Next up is Tampa Bay at Carolina. Uh, there's not much to say about this game. Tampa Bay is going to win. Both these teams suck, but Carolina sucks more.
Yeah, it's like you almost want to take Carolina because Tampa Bay's just the narrative is like so bad, but then you're like, well, how could you take Carolina? So, um, yeah, my model, it's you know, at the start of the year, I never would have thought it was this close, but my model's got Tampa Bay by 6.5. And I really don't even know. I really don't even know. I mean, the heat map is all green for Tampa Bay, but they have been underperforming the model consistently. But so has Carolina. So I'm comfortable with Tampa Bay winning it. I'm just not sure by how much.
Next up, we have Atlanta at Cincinnati. 2, 3, and 3 teams matching up. You know, interesting thing about this is Atlanta is 6-0 against the spread this season. So
Yeah.
if I was betting the game, which I'm not recommending anybody bet this,
Do you know what the line is on it?
6.5.
Okay.
Cincinnati's favored by 6.5. And if I was betting the game, I would take Atlanta in the points. I'm not betting the game. Ironically, my model came out to a 31-27 victory for Cincinnati, which
Okay.
is less than 6.5 points.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, so my model has Cincinnati winning by 10.5, and um, I think that Atlanta, like you're saying, and I like that you said that they're beating the against the spread because uh, they've been outperforming my model pretty consistently every week, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And so even though the model's got a 10.5 spread, I think it's going to be a closer game than that, but I still have Cincinnati winning.
All right. Next up, we have the fucking Lions at the Dallas Cowboys.
The fucking Lions. Can we just skip this one? No?
Why would
Okay.
we skip this one?
'Cause
Why?
I'm getting sick of the Lions, man. It's like I'd rather just like not talk about them.
Okay, let's talk about Dallas.
Okay.
Dak Prescott's back.
Yes. 100 points.
Dallas is going to get away from what's made them successful under Cooper Rush.
Running in defense?
Running in defense. They're going to try to pass it too much, especially because Detroit can put up points.
Oh, Jeff Okuda pick 6 to win the game. Oh! Do you think this could be a shootout?
My model has it at 74 points scored in this game,
Shit.
which is fucking crazy. I think it's going to be more along the lines of 58 to 60.
There's still a lot.
With the Lions winning.
Okay. All right. You think
31
they're gonna
to
get one
27.
on Dan Quinn, huh?
Gut feeling?
It does help they're coming off the bye. Maybe Russ. Maybe Dak has to shake off a little bit of rust. Who knows? But um, so are you taking Detroit?
Yeah.
All right. So you got Detroit here. Well, here, let me change this because I got you as Dallas, but
Yeah, I know.
that's fine.
I
And,
will do a
you know, you can,
switcheroo.
I won't get mad at you if you change it by the weekend.
Yeah, if Swift's not playing or St. Brown's out, I'm probably obviously going to change it. But
I got you. So I've got, holy shit, we got a lot of different picks this week. So I've got Dallas,
I know.
and my model, man, this is like a beat down in my model. It has Dallas by fucking 16, man. And so I think, like I was saying, Detroit's coming off the bye. I think that they can do better than that, but I think they're ultimately going to lose. I think they're still going to have a hard time scoring points because Dan Quinn has been like lights out coaching that defense in Dallas. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time, thinking Detroit could pull it off. So I'm going to take Dallas.
Okay. We shall see.
Yeah,
Next up,
hey, I'd be happy if they win it, but I just don't see it happening.
we have the New York Football Giants at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and for how much we love them, neither one of us is picking them here, James.
I know. I just noticed that, and I was like,
It's because we're looking at the model. We're not looking at the narrative. Uh, the game's in Jacksonville, if that makes you feel better. And I'll tell you what, like
you know what? I'm gonna go with the Giants in this game.
you're flipping it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, we have so many different picks.
That's okay. It seems like not every week is like this, but last week was one of them that was like this, where we had like 6 different games, and we both ended up winning 5, so it didn't matter. Um, all right, yeah,
Just
Yeah,
Okay,
go
so
ahead. Go ahead.
Jacksonville is 2-10 outright when they're favored in the game. In their last 12 times they've been favored, which you have to probably have to go back like 6 years to get 12 times that Jacksonville was favored.
Yeah.
But they're 2-10 when they've been favored in the game, even though it's at home. I think the reason why my model picked Jacksonville is because it's in Jacksonville, and I don't know if home field has that much of an impact. Especially
Yeah.
how the Giants are playing. Giants are been playing lights out home and the road on the road. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And yeah, I think that my model, it's the home field that's pushing it over into Jacksonville's favor. I think the difference maker in this game is going to be Saquon Barkley. If he can be effective, then they got a good chance of winning. If the Jacksonville defense can slow him down, I think that they'll win this game. But yeah, I'm going to take Jacksonville for now, but it's one that I'll be keeping an eye on as we go into the weekend.
next up we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. All right. What this boils down to is Tennessee has won the last 4 straight against the Colts with
Okay.
an average margin of victory of 9.5 points. My model has this closer than that. And I think my model might be wrong on how close that is. Because my model has it as a 2-point game.
Okay.
Tennessee's favored by 2.5. But also, in the last 4 straight meetings against Indianapolis, the Tennessee has covered the spread all 4 times. I have all sorts of random stats here. Just trying to. I'm just
Boil
gonna
it
go.
all
I'm gonna go
down,
with
man.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Tennessee. My model's probably closer than the game's gonna be.
I got you. So I'm taking Tennessee as well, and I've got them winning by 5. Um, Heat map wise, it's pretty heavily in their favor. Um, I think the big thing for Indy is going to be which Jonathan Taylor are we going to get now that he's likely to come back and play? Because he just, even when he has played, not looked like himself this year. And I think a big part of that is that the offensive line's kind of been in disarray. If they can show some signs of life, that could be a bit of a game changer. Otherwise, I'm comfortable sticking with Tennessee, and so they're my pick, man.
All right. Next up, we have the Shit Bay Packers. I'm sorry, the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay shit Packers, James, get it right.
I'm sorry, I forgot at the Washington Commies. If this was any other team in the league that Green Bay was playing besides Washington, I would pick Green Bay to lose.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking at my
I'll tell you what. I'm actually tempted to take Washington because Heineke's starting, man.
I
But I'm
am
taking Green Bay for now, and if I
I
feel a little spicy going into the weekend, I'll let you know, man.
um I am I've been struggling. That's a weird fantasy note. Holy shit. There have been 31 different quarterbacks to score at least 17 fantasy points in a game this season, according to ESPN.
Okay.
You know who has not scored at least 17 fantasy points this season?
Who?
Aaron Rodgers. But I digress. Um, I If it were any other team, I would be on Washington, but I'm picking Green Bay.
Yeah.
And it depends on how much I drink. Um, leading up to the game, that might change.
I got you. Yeah, it's hard to take Washington. I think Heineke gives them a little bit of that surprise element, and if he can get any more offense out of that team than Wentz did, Washington could win some games, to be honest. Um, and so I could see there being an upset, but I got to go with Green Bay for now. And it's tough, dude. It really is tough. This game, it makes me question it, but I'm sticking with the Packers.
Next up, we have the New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. I'm picking a tie in this game.
Uh,
My
okay.
model, my model had, I believe it was the Jets. I have to go back and check. The Jets winning by point 0.0000001. That is the closest I have. Well, I mean, obviously, it's the closest I've seen in my model. But when I go to ESPN and look at their stats, because I was trying to, I was trying to find
A
an edge for winning.
differentiator. Yeah.
Yeah. So according to ESPN, they have their FPI projection. New York Jets 50.1% chance of winning by an average of 0.2 points. I could not find a fucking differentiator at all between these two teams to tip it
Yeah.
one way or the other. So I am going to go with the tie.
Okay. It's bold, but if you're ever going to take a tie, that's what you want the model to be telling you. It's like 0.0000001 or whatever it was, however many zeros there. Um, I'm going with Denver, and I've got them winning by 0.73 in my model, and so it's less than a point, more than a half a point. Um, I think if I put a little narrative spin on it, I would probably take the Jets, except that this game is in Denver. And so I'm going to stick with Denver. And this is another one, man. I don't know. I feel like a lot of these games I could flip a coin on Sunday morning and be like, yeah, fuck it, James. I'm fucking changing them all. So,
All right. Next up, we have the Houston Texans at the Vegas Raiders.
both teams coming off a bye, so no real advantage there. But it is in Vegas.
Yeah. So definitely, if I was betting the money line or the spread, which I'm not, I would go with Houston. The the Vegas Raiders in their last 5 games after a bye, they are 0-5 against the spread. Interesting fact I found when I was researching this game. Derek Carr was devastated that he was not drafted by the Houston Texans.
Really? Because he wanted to follow Big Bro's footsteps?
Yes. Another interesting fact, he is 1-2 against the Houston Texans.
Okay. They're in his head.
I have Houston winning this by 4 points in my model, and I'm going with the model and picking Houston.
Yeah, see, man, my model's the other way, and it's just because we know the Raiders have talent. They're just not getting it done. But I've got them winning by 10, which blows my mind. The narrative tells me no way they're going to get it by 10, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because I think they're better at quarterback. I think running back's interesting because I think Houston, I need to do an adjustment for Dameon Pierce with how well he's been running. I know he's had some fumbles and things like that, but he's been really good. At wide receiver, the favor goes to the Raiders. Offensive line, it actually goes in Houston's favor, but it's when you're looking at the defensive line as a comparison, and the Raiders actually have the edge there. Um, it's tough, man. It's tough. Everything's telling me to stick with the Raiders, but it's like, I hate Josh McDaniels, and they've obviously only got one win this year, but I'm gonna stick with the Raiders in this one, despite all that.
Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Chargers. And you're going to think I'm crazy for this.
I don't know.
With certain injury news happening and players being out, my model shifted from a 3-point victory by the Chargers to a 7-point victory by the Seahawks.
Holy cow, man, that's a pretty big swing.
So, I mean, and that was the difference. That's where the difference in my model comes up. I'm going to go with Seattle. I'm going to go with the model and pick Seattle. I tried to look for something to talk me out of it, and
You're just not seeing it.
I'm just not seeing it.
I got you.
Think
Yeah, and I mean, really,
a stat to know going into this game is Herbert is one touchdown away. He's starting his 39th game. He is one touchdown pass away from becoming the fourth player in NFL history with 80 passing touchdowns in his first 40 career games. 80 or more, obviously.
Get it, buddy.
Mahomes had 101. Marino had 90, and Kurt Warner had 86 in his first 40 games.
Yeah, he's a special talent, man. All those guys, rare air. But yeah, injury stuff that they're dealing with, that's holding them back. And so my model with the injuries, as best as I can kind of like glean and bake them in, I've still got the Chargers winning. I'm going to trust the model. But yeah, this is another one of these games, man. If you put more weight on the narrative, I think it for sure shifts it to Seattle. I'm trying to stick with the model, and so I'm just going to hold tight with that for now.
All right. The next one we have is, sorry, I got distracted. The Chiefs at the 49ers. This is an area where I have decided to override my model.
Okay.
My model has the Chiefs winning. Yeah, I'm overriding my model. I'm going to go with the 49ers. It's close enough. It's close enough in my model that I think it's possible. Looking at the Chiefs, I think this is kind of like I feel like this might be a possible, if I remember their schedule correctly. It feels like a look-ahead game for them.
For the Chiefs?
Oh no, they're going into the bye.
Well, maybe they're getting the party started early.
So I actually had the Chiefs losing this game, and I wasn't high on San Francisco. I had San Francisco winning 6 games or 7 games coming into the season, and coming into the season, I had the Chiefs already losing this game. So
Okay.
maybe that's what's drawing me towards it. Maybe it's the Christian McCaffrey trade. I don't know what it is. I'm just feeling high on the 49ers right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I'm going with Kansas City here. I have it as a really close game. I've got it, I have like kind of a range that I'm looking at for this game because I see some different scenarios that could play out, but I've got it less than 3 points. And anytime I got a game that close and there's a little bit of variance, I give the edge to the quarterback if there's one that I deem as being a clutch quarterback, which I think Mahomes is. Garoppolo is not. And so I'm pretty comfortable taking KC on the road in this one.
Okay. Next up, we're on to Sunday Night Football. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Miami Dolphins. I don't, also known as the Minka Fitzpatrick, Brian Flores
Oh,
return
revenge
game.
game.
My model has, and this is with to a start in the game. My model has Pittsburgh winning 23-21.
Okay.
I think I could see that. I want to see Tua play and quote shake off those cobwebs first.
I got you. I'm good with that. I'm taking Miami, and my model's got Miami by 10. I don't think it's going to be that big because we got to see Tua play, and I'm sure if I tried to discount him in my model a little bit, I could bring it down a little bit. But either way, 10 is strong enough that even if I discounted, I know that they're still going to have the edge in the model. Um, and it's tough. I think until Pittsburgh gets TJ Watt back, I just can't like weekly rely on picking them. And so unless I'm going out on a limb, I'm probably going against them. And so I'm taking the Dolphins.
And then we have the Monday night matchup, which I mean they need to stop fucking putting Chicago in prime time. New England is it New England at? I'm sorry, Chicago at New England. So I think that the offense for New England has looked a lot better under Bailey Zappi a lot better than it did under Mac Jones. I think part of the reason is because they made adjustments to accommodate Zappi as opposed to Jones playing, which I think they'll notice that and they'll catch that and they'll carry those adjustments over to when Mac Jones is back, if Mac Jones is back in the Monday night game. Supposedly it's supposed to rain on Monday night. So here's the storyline going into the game. Justin Fields is 0-2 on Monday Night Football. Both games were last year, though. Bill Belichick, with a win, Bill Belichick will move past former Bears coach George Halas into sole possession of second place on the all-time wins list for head coaches.
Oh, yeah.
What better team to do that against than the Chicago Bears? I have New England winning this game.
Yeah, you can't write this stuff. Or can you? Conspiracy theory. I don't know. All right, so you said you're taking New England.
Yes.
I am too. I just think Chicago sucks. So yeah, I mean, we don't need to dig into it too much, man. I'm taking the Patriots.
All right. Then we have the Thursday night game next week, which I forgot to send you on when I sent it to you to you earlier. Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Another tie?
Look, the Bucks suck. Ravens win this game by like 20.
By like 20. I like that. Yeah, this was a wild one, man. My I did a look ahead in my model, and so like basically I've got like a drop down for whatever week it is, and it like pre-populates everything. And so I went ahead a week, and my model's got Tampa Bay winning, and I can't do it. I got to override it. So I'm picking Baltimore. And it's weird because like this whole week, all these picks, it's like I tell you, the model's got a team winning, but the narrative maybe favors the other team. But I'm not overriding any of them. It's until we go to next week where I'm looking at this one with Tampa Bay, and I'm like, I just can't get on board with it, man. No way, no way, no how. So I'm picking Baltimore also.
Okay.
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 All right, so those are the game picks, James. Questions, comments, concerns, or time to move on?
Time to move on.
Okay,
I'm so ready for this question. I knew this question was coming before you told me it was coming, and I am prepared as fuck for this. So
nice.
let's
It's like you're in my head, man. Yeah, so question of the week time. And on the heels of this Christian McCaffrey trade, I'm just asking straight up, did the 49ers make the right move by trading for Christian McCaffrey? And I know you're ready to go, James. I'm going to give you my take first, like I always do. So please hang in there for just one more minute. I'm going to say that no, they did not make the right move. I think from a salary cap perspective, it's good this year because Carolina's eating a lot of that deal. But after this year, you're talking 12 plus million a year for a couple years. That's a lot of money for a guy who's been injury prone most of these last two seasons. On top of that, Shanahan, much like his father, known for making these like unknown, unheralded running backs really good and really productive. This is like the exact opposite of that. They're paying a guy where they could get value without paying a guy. Um, and I think really probably the most value for them in this is that I've been hearing that they tried sniping him away from the Rams. And if that's the case, yeah, that helps because now you got the guy and your competitor doesn't have the guy. So I get that. I just, it's tough. I think at the end of the day, if you're getting peak performance McCaffrey, it could be good for them. But if you're not and you get injury prone McCaffrey, it's a disaster. And I would have rather seen them put some of those resources into an offensive lineman and go more traditional Shanahan by making these other running backs work through the system than trying to get the stud. Just my opinion, man. Over to you.
All right. First of all, this is a Super Bowl winning trade. They have Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey, who are both running and reception threats. McCaffrey's comfortable in Shanahan's, so will be comfortable in Shanahan's system because he's used to running the zone heavy schemes. Um, you mentioned his contract.
Yep.
What if I told you that next year and the year after, those two $12 million years, no incentives, non-guaranteed?
Oh man. Yeah, I guess I was stuck more on San Francisco only having to pay 600 grand this year. And I thought,
Mhm.
holy shit. And then I just saw the 12 million the next couple of years and I thought, okay, so basically it's like a
Non-guaranteed.
1 year steal if it works this year.
1 year steal. They get him. They put these trades together. If they had to run, if Shanahan has done so much with has-beens, castaways, other teams' garbage that
Yeah,
he's put out there at running back. Imagine what he can do
with a
with
real running back.
a legitimate running back. Secondly, on top of the mention of Samuel and McCaffrey, who are dual threats, Ayuk's a talented receiver. You have Kittle. I
Yep.
mean, but Garoppolo with McCaffrey, Garoppolo's not going to have to do much more but manage the game.
Yeah, and
When
just
they
check
lost
it
this,
down if you need to.
when they made it to the Super Bowl, it was a run heavy, but in the Super Bowl they went too far to the making Garoppolo win the game for them, as opposed to letting what got them there win the game for them. This is 100% a Super Bowl winning move for the 49ers, and you win a Super Bowl, it's worth it.
Okay. No, I mean, yeah, obviously, if they win a Super Bowl, it's worth it. Um, so who do you see them? You're saying this is a Super Bowl move. Is it them beating Buffalo?
Yep.
Man, that's intense. They got to stay healthy, man. I know
And they do
Bosa
have
was
to
out
stay
this past week, but yeah,
Bosa's back. Williams is back. They're not even, for what I read. If I remember correctly, what I read was they're not even really on the injury report
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. And Kittle's been playing, even though he's been kind of looking like he's milking an injury. But no, if they can stay healthy, and that's the key for any team, really, is like they don't have a chance if they've got the injuries. But I like the positivity, James. I like that you're going the other direction. To me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, it's like you could use those resources in so many other ways, but it's really this year, it's almost nothing. It's after this year. And so if none of it's guaranteed after this year, shit, they got all the flexibility in the world. It's like a 1 year rental. Make it work and then do whatever you want to do. All right, well, that's cool. So, yeah, for anybody who's watching, hit us up. Tell us what you think. We've got our comments section on YouTube, on Facebook, and on our WordPress site. So, wherever you want to hit us up, we will be checking it out. We want to engage with you guys. And so, yeah, any closing thoughts there, James?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man, like always, it was a good time. I will catch you next week, homie.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
You too. See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.